We're gonna have a good conversation today. Something that stood out to me yesterday when we were at the show. I met a lot of new people, you guys. Um, Shout out to Diane and Alan for throwing the show. Was a wonderful show both Friday and Saturday. And with that being said, I thought about it. I met a lot of new people at the show yesterday, and a lot of them it was their first time going to a show. So I've told myself, now that I'm able to go back live, you guys, I'm able to get back on live. So now that I can do that, we can get back to having these conversations. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get back into doing this. We'll try to work in the what up, Mike? We'll try to get back into the other stuff we're doing, but we ain't we'll get back into all the dog stuff, you know what I mean? But with that being said, I feel like the conversation for today should be your first show. Um, and really show anxiety. That goes for both the owner and mainly the dog. I understood yesterday. I talked to a lot of people that didn't understand how serious that shit is. You know what I mean? Like dogs, I talked to a couple people that was their first show. They said their dog did great at home. At the show, their dog was timid. You know what I mean? What up, Brody? My boy Pelly. What's the word with you, man? How you been? But look, hey, I'm able to go back live now. They took me off the game for like a year, bruh. They took they put me on pause for like a year. But look, back to the topic. Hey, y'all jumping in, share the live, take a friend. You know what I mean? Juju is so tired today. Juju did so good yesterday, Linda. Juju did so good. And like, okay, for instance, I met Linda yesterday, you guys. And I believe, Linda, this was your first show, first or second show. But back to the main topic of the live, right? Um, when it's your first show, right? Not only are you, you know what I mean, you're prepping for yourself, these dogs have to be moderately prepared for it. There's a lot of dogs. I talked to one owner, I'm not going to say any names. They said their dog did great at home. They were stacking the dog at home. And at the show, the dog was super timid. And, this is how I broke it down to them. To us, it's just a show. You know what I mean? It's just people and dogs and we're having fun, you know what I mean? But to the dog, it's like, oh shit, what is this? There's music playing. There's all these people, different smells, dogs looking at people. You know what I mean? We can't pick up on dog language like how dogs can pick up on dog language. We can't pick up on that. So there might be another dog staring your dog down. You don't even know it. You see what I'm saying? And now your dog, it could go into fight or flight. It might say, hey, this guy's saying, fuck me, fuck him. And now your dog's acting a little bit more aggressive. You know what I mean? And these are things that I feel like people got to prepare moderately for. You can only do so much in conditioning as far as it goes for that part of it. But that's where, learning how to be prepared for the show goes for both the owner and the dog. Casey, what's up? So it goes two ways. I've seen a lot of great dogs. There's a lot of great performances. I've seen a lot of people I've never seen before that did say this was their first show that they went to. And they got in that ring. They got in the ring. Their first show off the bat in the ring, man. You can't do nothing but salute it. Can't do nothing but salute it, man. But back to preparation, overfeeding your dog. That don't look good, bro. That really don't look good. When you overfeed your dog don't look nothing but bloated. You know what I mean? There's dogs that throw up. Now they're pooping everywhere, peeing everywhere. What up, Travis? I brought Pluto out so she can get used to all the things she hasn't been around. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's a perfect example. Like Travis just said, he brought his puppy out. He got a beautiful girl. I mean, a beautiful, beautiful girl. You know what I mean? And it's good to get your dogs used to being around other dogs. Back to the feeding part. If you give your dog a bunch of food and water, and then they go to this show, they're gonna catch anxiety. They're gonna throw it up. They're gonna use the restroom. It's happened to me before. Hey, y'all, everybody in Minnesota knows Alejandro. This is not a joke. You can ask Alejandro. Recipes Guap. When Guap went to his second show, we didn't overfeed him or nothing, but he used the restroom in the middle of the ring. You know what I mean? I mean, mind you, he was a beautiful bull. I think he still actually took home second place that day. You know what I mean? But you got to be prepared for this stuff, and that was a learning curve that I had to understand too. And that's why I'm doing these type of lives. And now that I can go back live, I can get back into what I was doing. We may not be able to do so many things as aggressively as we were in the past, but we can at least spread knowledge with. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people, and I see a lot of new people, a lot of younger people jumping into the dogs, and that's where it's like, that's what stuff like this is supposed to be meant for. And not only that, just to actually connect with people. You know what I mean? The judge told me Juju was tight. Juju is tight. Her feet, I told you, Juju had real clean feet. Alejandro did you justice with that puppy, Linda. That girl is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful all around. She is a great dog. Clean, super clean. Like I told you, she's nice, compact, mass. She is a beautiful top tier pocket girl. And you definitely got a good one with her. Like, I mean, top notch. For real. For real. But now back to the main subject. Me personally, I don't feed my dogs the day of the show. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, kind of crazy. Like, what the fuck, you don't feed your dogs? But listen to me. I don't want my dogs to be throwing up. I know my dogs typically had a lot of anxiety going to shows. You know what I mean? So me knowing that as an owner, like, at the end of the day, yes, this is a business and whatnot, but as an owner, you got to do what you got to do. These are living, breathing things. You know what I mean? And, you got to understand your dog. And like, for instance, my dogs had a lot of anxiety when we go to shows. So with that being said, I would not feed my dogs. Yes, they would get water. We would either eat at the hotel room that night, and they would eat the night before, right? But the day of the show, food's put up. Ain't nothing but water. That's just what it is, water and treats. Because we're in the ring, we got the treats in our hand, and we're showing our dog. You know what I mean? But the day of the show, we're not eating that morning. My dogs have a lot of bone and mass on their own, so I don't need to try to cope with that. But when you try to make your dog look thicker than what it is by overfeeding before you go to a show, you're just asking for something bad to happen. I'm just being real, let alone you live in a hot state. Luckily I'm in Minnesota. It's pretty cold. The summertime it gets hot. These dogs are bougie dogs. They're not meant for the heat for real. So when you overfeed your dog, this is another problem added to it. But something to strongly consider. We were there for that. Diablo has done it. Yes, Casey was there when Guwap took a dump in the ring. That is not a joke, and that's why I'm doing this again. Is we're trying to spread knowledge. Like Diane said, they won't starve. We another two great owners, especially when it comes to knowledge. Two people right here, Casey and Diane. Diane, I wasn't sure if you were in the beginning of the live, but I told you last night, and I'm gonna tell you again tonight. You guys had a great show. You and Alan did both Friday night and Saturday. I'm glad at the turnout of it. Everything was so smooth. No dogs passed out, and that's never happened at any of her shows. But we got to specify that nowadays because the AC was top tier in the building. We got to give her credit for that because you know what? I've gone to buildings where the AC was fucking horrible. I mean, horrible. You know what I mean? And we really do got to give that, especially in Minnesota where we got a lot of exotic dogs. Like, you know what I mean? Go to other states, it's pockets or XLs and all that. We got a lot of exotic dogs in Minnesota. If you ask me, I think we have some of the best exotic dogs that there is out there. You know what I mean? We had a lot of heat on the floor last night, you guys. A lot of heat on the floor. But, Dennis, I see you in here, brother. I see you in here. Bina, I see you, baby. Back to the show things though. We already went over, kind of just dogs picking up on languages, feeding. Another thing is, you want to always go into your first show. If you don't have a show lead, you can usually get one there. If you don't know what a show lead is, go ahead and message me. We can get you into it. I can get you in touch with the right people. I know Alejandro sells show leads. He has great ones. Nate, the BRC judge, or not Nate, Kev Bernard. Kev Bernard also sells show leads. Great people too. The venue is amazing. Best in Minnesota. Yes. The venue we were at yesterday, my fault. I know we got a little sidetracked. We were talking about show leads, but the venue that you had was, it is, and you've done it for years, and Uh, for you to have 3 shows in a row, and we got to give Diana her flowers with this. She's had 3 shows, 1 show a year. Matter of fact, more than 3 because we had it at another venue before. But at each one of Diane's shows, no dogs have passed out, no dogs have died. Um, and mind you, she throws the show in fucking August. Like the hottest month of the year is July and August. You know what I mean? And we got to give her props for that. She makes sure that she's in a great building. You know, you can go to. I've gone to shows in Illinois and Texas and California. You know, and those buildings are hot. You know what I mean? Like they have AC, but it's truly just not enough. I use tier Gonzo show leads, best in the biz. For sure. For sure. I haven't heard of them, Brody. Prospect, I see you in here too. I didn't even know you were in here, brother. To be real with you, till you commented. But I've never heard of them, bro. You should give me a tune. I definitely will take a look at them. You know what I mean? And I'm sure taking it from you, you know, that's another person who goes state to state, and is currently going state to state and showing dogs. I mean, his boy Bankroll, the work that he's put in, just check his page out. You know what I mean? Prospect, I salute you, brother, on the real. And you know what I mean? He's going state to state showing his dog. So if he's saying those show leads are the best, check them out. For real. Wife has it. Wife was amazing. Just came to the desk. Oh yeah, we had Bina at the registration table. We had Bina at the registration table. You know what I mean? And she did her thing too. For real. We gotta give her flowers too. Carlos, what up, buddy? I see you in here. I own 5. You own 5 leads? What you mean by that, bro? Diane shows, yes, Diane shows was great. They always have been a hit. But back to the main topic of the live. I got to try to stay on course because I want to continue to do lives again. And I you know what I mean. We got to work with it because they took me out the game for a hot minute. But I've been able to go live. I've been pushing at you guys. I did 2 lives this past weekend. I wasn't really on them interacting like how I am right now. And then I did this one right now. So this is 3 in 1 week, less than a week for real. So we're gonna see how far we can push it before they take me out 5 of the same leads. Okay, for sure. I mean that's kind of how it goes, bro. Especially when you're going state to state. Hey, Casey set some stars. You guys, shout out to Casey. But back to it. Always go to the show with the lead. And look, this is what I'm gonna tell you guys. This is like a real trick that helped me with training my dogs. Instead of using a show lead when you're training your dogs at home, go to the dollar store, get a cheap leash, and you can put it around your dog's neck and use the clip and clip it back on. And that way it's not metal pulling on the neck because you don't want to, you know what I mean? You ain't trying to hurt them. You're just trying to train them. When you're training them, they're going to pull. And you know, it takes some adjusting to, especially if they're used to a collar. So just that's another major thing. You know what I mean? Make sure you have a show lead. Typically a show lead's only $30. This is something that you want to pursue. You know, you got to invest into what you're trying to pursue. You know what I mean? It's not going to be cheap when you're trying to go state to state. And usually you're going to want a couple of them. And, you know, some people do raffles for show leads or waffles. Waffles, we can't say that on here. They do waffles for show leads, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Now, another thing, too, I'm going to try to give you guys at least 15 good things to know about, you know, show. Because I know there's a lot of show anxiety. That's the name of this live. We're going to bring back bullies and bullshit, too, as long as they don't tear me down. Yeah. You know what I mean with the show leash? Just go to the dollar store, get a cheap dollar leash and clip it on there because you know you're not trying to hurt them. You know it's good to practice. Practice makes perfect, and that's another thing too. You don't need to overtrain your dog. That's on a whole nother topic. We'll get into another training topic on another live, but we can kind of dig into it right now, right? You don't need to overtrain your dog for these shows. No bullshit. It only takes 5 minutes a day at home. That's all it takes. You can let your dog outside in the morning, or the afternoon, or when you come home from work, put them on the little training leash that you have, or show lead, however you decide to train them. Walk them around, correct. I like to do positive corrections. You know what I mean? Where when they do a good job for 4 or 5 seconds, oh yeah, good job, good boy, good girl. You know what I mean? Keep them all hyped up and happy. Um, that's how I do it. You feel me? To each is its own on how you train your dog. But to me, it only takes about 5 minutes a day just practicing. One day might really just be walking, preparing for when we're in the show. Another day it might be stacking. You know, that's another thing. And then a good part about that is if you train, and this isn't for every dog too, but if you train with your dog, typically when you go to the show, you won't need a handler. Now, don't get me wrong, there are dogs that will perform great with you at home. And then when you get to the ring, they won't want to perform for you well, but they might perform for somebody else. And it's just like a comfort thing because they might be saying, there's a lot of dogs here. I want to protect, my mom, dad, sis, whoever's handling the dog. You know what I mean? Hey, if y'all jumping in, make sure y'all hit the like, hit, send me some hearts, something. Y'all tap. This ain't TikTok, but make sure you guys turn it up a little bit. Um, you know, but yeah, definitely the leads, training at home, not overfeeding, breeding your dog. We already went over those. Let's think one more thing, because, we had a lot of new people. And that's I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see that they were embraced too. At the show, a lot of new people that did come into these dogs. I had a lot of people actually asking me questions about getting pups and stuff like that. But that's a whole nother topic. But as far as it goes for shows, another big thing to consider is when it comes to your dog, you gotta, I'm trying to think of how I'm gonna word this. You gotta be, when it comes to your dog, right? Don't look at other people's dogs and think like when you're in the ring or anything else, like you wanna be where your dog is. You know what I mean by that? Like, if there's another dog and you see they're performing well, you as an owner, don't get nervous if you see another dog in the ring that's standing just still as a statue. You know what I mean by that? And I'm not saying it to knock nobody's dog or nothing like that either. But when you're in that ring, you want to make sure you're collected too. You know what I mean? It's not just the dog, it's you. And you got to be pretty chill with it, So just something to really think about. Don't worry about no other dogs when you step into that ring. Just worry about your own dog. That's what's going to take care of you for real. Because, you really can only do so much in the ring. You know what I mean? And that's the best part of it. You can go into the ring, you might have the best looking dog, and you just didn't handle them that well that day. And it happened. There's dogs like Jude. She was great in the ring, but she would have off days. It's the truth. That's just how it goes. Your dog is going to have off days, learning that. But back to show anxiety, always come prepared to a show. Alcohol, lemon juice, Pedialyte, you know what I mean? Prednisone, stuff like that. You got to be, prepared for the worst. That's how I always do it. I'd rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. But I think we went over quite a few good ones. If y'all are in here and you have any ideas or something that you feel like people should know about shows and show anxiety the best way, that if you have different dogs or a different point of view, I really can't speak so much for the Frenchies and all that. I don't really know too much. I know we had Diablo in the building though. We had a lot of great dogs bankroll in the building at this show. I can't think of the name of the small little dog that took best in show for the fun show for the day 2. That was another beautiful dog. But that's really what these shows are about. It's about networking and keeping it keeping it going. You know what I mean? I feel like the dog game has changed so much these last 3 years, and we gotta get it great again. You know what I mean? We gotta get it going, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get it back to what it was. Um, I think the online live stack offs, you know what I mean? And this is what I was explaining to people. There's a big difference between an internet breeder and a real breeder that's in person with it. You know, it's crazy. When your first time seeing a dog with a real whoa factor is gonna change your whole point of view. And I hope this helps anybody. I'm gonna be jumping off a live here. I did a good 20-minute live with you guys. We're gonna get back to this. I'm gonna try to start going live like once every day or every other day with different topics. Again, we're gonna get it back going. But with that being said, it was a great show this weekend. I think everybody did really well, and I think we did really well this past weekend, both Friday and Saturday. I know everybody's recovering. I know I am. Just remember, this breeding stuff is not a get rich quick scheme, and yeah, I hope this helps everybody out. So we're gonna keep this live up, and we'll get back to it. Hopefully tomorrow we'll think of another topic really to discuss that will, you know what I mean, free game.